Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Heavy Metal October here at Record Collectors Paradise. If you were in the store last week, or if you saw last week's video, you saw the first phase of an amazing heavy metal collection that we've been unleashing every week this month. Last week was all North American bands. This week we're going to take it international. And we're going to kick it off with, let's start with the beginning of heavy metal. A little Black Sabbath for you. If you were watching last week's video, you know that pretty well all of these are German, European, or UK pressings of things. Oops, whoa, a little preview. So yeah, these Black Sabbaths are no different. Got a bunch of UK copies. This Live at Last is actually printed in Spain. Sabbath, of course, is one of the biggest proto-metal bands of all time. Which means that they're not super rare, but they're getting a little rare for us. We don't see vintage copies of these guys very often. They usually go pretty fast, so definitely come scope these out. Especially the first one. Self-titled is an absolute classic. As you saw a quick sample of there, we of course have Iron Maiden. We got a solid run of their early material there. UK original copy of Live After Death. French pressing of Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son, Power Slave. Another classic British metal band. Vintage copies of these guys always go quick. That one's cool. It's got a original European price tag on it. Sticking with England, you got the Motorhead. These guys never come in vintage. So here's 3 perfect opportunities to get on it while you can. 2 Spanish copies and a German copy of No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Sticking with England, let's get a little more random here. And we've got Magnum, Chrome Molly. This is cool. You're going to see a lot of these types of things on these European presses. Tour hype stickers. That one talking about touring with Alice Cooper. And we got Wasted. Singles on colored vinyl. It's clear red. Next we have a picture disc single for Thunder's Dirty Love. Speaking of Iron Maiden, here we have Samson featuring Bruce Dickinson. And on the more extreme end of things, Venom with Possessed. Next up we have a rare album by a band called Dark Star. These guys are out of Birmingham. This came out in 1981. This was the first of only 2 releases they ever put out. They have a great heavy classic rock sound, and if you're a fan of Dio era Black Sabbath and early Iron Maiden, you'll for sure get a kick out of that. Another rare British band, Demon. This is definitely a spooky album, at least on the first side. It sounds very much like an 80s horror movie soundtrack. Gets pretty classic rocky at the times. If you like Deep Purple with kind of a southern rock edge, you'll definitely like these guys. Okay, and then our final batch of British bands. We got a whole bunch. One of the most classic British heavy metal groups, Saxon. Crusader, Innocence Is No Excuse, Back on the Streets 12-inch single, Waiting for the Night, Power and the Glory. We've got a picture disc for Ride Like the Wind. Normal single for Ride Like the Wind. Finally, The Eagle Has Landed. Tremendous stuff. Records in this collection. The condition varies. As far as I've seen, nothing is in horrible shape. Definitely some wear and tear, but all playable, and some of them are in fantastic condition. Next up, we're going to go we're going to branch out of the United Kingdom there. Let's head over to Norway with another group, another batch of one group. TNT out of Norway. These guys used to be fairly common for us, but people have kind of picked up on how tough it is to find their albums, so they get gobbled up pretty quick. So definitely come check these out. And sticking with the Netherlands a bit, we have Vengeance, Take It or Leave It. Let's swing over to Denmark for another batch. Pretty Maids. Very good band. Love these colorful album covers. I love the switch from like a more classic fantasy-based heavy metal there to almost cyberpunkish with these two covers. Now we dive into Sweden. Yngwie Malmsteen, Rising Force. One of the best guitar players you'll ever hear. Europe, Rock the Night, 4-track maxi single EP. 220 volt out of Sweden. If you want to hear great dual guitar work, check these guys out. And out of Switzerland, we of course have Crocus. We don't see this one very often. We usually have their more common albums in stock quite a bit, but not that one. And also out of Switzerland, Paganini. Let's take a quick jaunt way across the seas to a totally different part of the world. Let's go to Japan. Loudness, classic Japanese heavy metal. We don't see them too often, and we definitely don't see this very often. Vow Wow. They started off called Bow Wow, switched to Vow Wow, and then for whatever reason later on changed back to Bow Wow. But regardless, what do they sound like? If you like Dio style heavy metal, you'll really like these guys. And some people aren't crazy about synthesizers, but you need to hear how these guys play with synthesizers. Their synth player uses it like a guitar. He works with the actual guitar player. It's amazing, amazing stuff. Now let's get back over to Eastern Europe here. Let's go to Austria for a pretty unique item. No Bros Heavy Metal Party. This is a quote-unquote live compilation. It's one of those things where they make it sound maybe more live than it is. But regardless, really cool, big hard rock sound, early heavy metal. If you like Deep Purple, you like the way these guys use organ with their hard rock. Let's swing back up to Belgium. Scavenger. These guys have a great pure heavy metal sound. I would describe these guys as Scorpions meet Dio meet early Slayer, I would say. Not too extreme, but they've definitely got an edge to it. And I mean, you can't beat that that album cover. It's almost like airbrush. And then a quick one out of France, Trust. Another great tour hype sticker with Iron Maiden in 1982. So now, like I said last week, this is a German heavy metal collection. In so much as the person that owned it was from Germany. So let's start off with a bang, if you will accept these guys. We have Accept. You see some of these guys' albums fairly often, not all of them, and the more rare ones usually go pretty quick. Live in Japan, Russian Roulette, Demon's Night 3LP box set, Spanish pressing. Good luck finding that anywhere else. And this is an interesting side project. Udo, I guess, Accept kind of broke up for a little bit, and this Udo group occurred in between before they got back together. Now here's a band I discovered through this collection. If you like Dokken, you'll probably like the oddly named Pink Cream 69. Just going by their name and their artwork, they sound more sleazier than they are. You'd think they'd be more like a glam band, but again, if you like Dokken, a bit of a darker edge to things, you'll really like these guys. Really good guitar work. Let's go with something a bit bigger, a bit more rare. This is a rare German band called Heart and Heart. This is from 1986, 4-track EP. So that's rare enough as it is. Throw in the fact that there's, I believe, less than 200 copies in the world. Throw in the fact that there's a tour hype sticker again. Flip it over. Signed by each member of the band. Unbelievable stuff. This is arguably a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You might not find this most anywhere outside of Germany, so definitely give that one some thought. Oh, I should also say, if you're fans of like a darker Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, maybe a bit of early Slayer, you'll really like this. They got a very dynamic sound. You have a slew of bands here. We have Vice. We have a couple by Bonfire. Again, these are all German bands right now. So you have Axis. Here's one I was tempted to pick up just for the cover art alone. Scanner with Hypertrace. This is their first album. This is a very German sounding band. A lot of German heavy metal from the 80s was definitely influenced by like British or American bands, but these guys definitely sound like they're from Germany. I would also describe them as like a super fast Styx. They're really like playing with speed metal, but very melodic too. This to me sounds like the type of 80s kind of fantasy metal that a modern band would try to imagine or emulate, or even parody, but just tremendous stuff. Check this out online when you have a chance. Next we have Trance with Breakout. Little Vamp. Awesome album cover of Victory, Don't Get Even. Don't Get Mad, Get Even. We got Casanova. And we got another Holy Grail piece here, also out of Germany. Nightmare. This is rare from 1986. This is the only thing they guys ever put out except for a demo tape a few years later. If you like Judas Priest with more of a darker tone and some really good dynamic energy, you'll dig these guys. And sure enough, it's signed by everyone again. This record is direct metal mastered. And finally, got Thunderhead behind the 8-ball. Let's give you one more for today. Alex Rudy Pell, Wild Obsession. So yeah, that's your picks for Heavy Metal October here at Record Collectors Paradise. These records are going to be hitting the sales floor this Saturday morning. If it was anything like last week, you definitely want to get here early to check these out. And like I said, this is happening every week this month. I'm not going to give any spoilers for next week, but there's some pretty wild stuff coming. And it's all just in time for the spooky Halloween season as well. So once again, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.